Dynasty or democracy? In Kenya, despite elections, the fight is on over who controls the levers of power. In the US, an 11-month process is underway, continuing 20 years of a Clinton and a Bush in presidential politics. In Pakistan, a 19-year-old student has been handed a political party in the will of his assassinated mother. We sought the views of two men who were apparently born to rule. Crown Prince Alexander styled as heir to the throne in Serbia, and Reza Pahlavi, the son of the late Shah of Iran.
I don't think you have to be a royal to appreciate your country. As any other Iranian child growing up, I had the opportunity to discover my country in many folds, and I must say that the privileges that I had gave me even more opportunities than an average kid my age to various parts of my country, and these are the images that I vividly retain no matter how much time goes by. These are the kind of things that become etched in your mind and can never be erased, no matter what. I used to go out, outside of my school years, very impromptu, very casual, very low-key, and half of the time people will not even recognize me, and that gave me an opportunity to really interact with people without them necessarily knowing who I was or what I represented.
I was born in Claridge's Hotel, and thanks to the government at the time, the United Kingdom government at the time, it was turned into Yugoslav territory for the time of my birth. Rather unusual. It had no effect in the sense of inheriting a position, but it was a nice gesture. I lived quite a normal life. I was in boarding schools in Switzerland, America, and public schools in the United Kingdom. But what happened to me when I was the age of 2, which I found out later on, that Tito had organized a decree to declare me a stateless person, and I became an enemy of the state in 1947.
But I'm thinking to myself that it's not a normal upbringing. You describe it as that, but with respect, it is not. And at that time, people must have said to you, you are a royal child and you might one day be king.
Well, I think that's irrelevant. I have red blood like anybody else, and if you are going to be the son or the daughter of somebody in a village like the vicar, everybody knows that your father's the vicar. In my case, it was King Peter II. There's nothing special about it. You've got to behave yourself and abide by the law and all that like that, just like anybody else.
Well, here's what's special about it, Your Highness. By what claim do you imagine you could be king of Serbia in the future? If it's an accident, why should dynasties continue?
Well, it works quite well in the United Kingdom, that I assure you. And it works very well in other European Union countries. And don't forget that Japan is a constitutional monarchy, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. It works rather well. Presidencies work rather well too. So
it is almost like from birth you are predestined to play a role, and you are groomed and prepared and shaped for that job. It's literally like a job. I had to become even more rehearsed in affairs of government, of country, of issues that usually someone my age at that time would not be necessarily exposed to. So there's definitely a tremendous amount of preparation and grooming that goes into that.
Your destiny was dynasty, and it's not now, is it?
Well, this is something that if one day the opportunity presents itself again, it will be something that the Iranian people will have to decide whether or not someone like me may play a role of that nature in the future. But this is not my focus right now. My only focus at this time, and as a matter of fact, my sole preoccupation ever since I left my country, has been what can we do to secure the kind of future that the Iranian people deserve. A future which brings human rights, which brings justice, which brings equality, which brings true democracy. What form it ultimately takes, that's a different issue. And that's the debate between those who are monarchists and those who are Republicans.
And as a monarchist, do you want to be Shah of Iran?
Let me explain something to you, Mr. O'Connell. If you ask me whether or not I believe that the institution that I represent can have a role in Iran, is a better institution for the country, my view of the institution has always been something above the fray. When you look at France today as compared to Spain, for instance, one being a republic, the other one being a constitutional monarchy, the issue of democracy is established. Whether or not one institution for one country may be better or not, that's really what the issue is. Now, when you look at Iran, it is not by chance that the institutional monarchy lasted for over 25 centuries, because it has to do a lot with the nature of that country, its diversity. The institution has been an added umbrella of security and unity for the nation.
What we do see is that you have been an evolution. You're one man who can tell an extraordinary story. Do you feel that you would like to see further evolution and that perhaps your family will become constitutional monarchs again in your homeland?
It's a very good solution for my country. First of all, my dynasty comes from my country. I'm not an import. My roots are here. At the moment, we have a president and prime minister who are both friends, but they have constant arguments amongst each other. It's better to have a head of state who's neutral. We've had the communist dictatorship, plus 10 years of total madness under Milosevic. We're still in our infancy of democracy. I'm very lucky to be living in my homeland. I helped to bring democracy. I fought for human rights. I made friends of all our political parties. I criticized the extremist elements. I think that we're moving ahead rather well. We have many problems to solve, like Kosovo. We have problems to solve regarding the International Tribunal in The Hague. We have economic problems. It's not easy.
We've looked at 19-year-old Bilawal Bhutto be told to inherit the helm of his party. We hear you talk about a potential role for yourself. You believe, do you not, that rulers are born? They might be made, but they are also born.
No, I don't believe that. I think that it's a collective process of people finding individuals who could, in fact, emerge from the fray and play a key role. Many, many times when I have been confronted with fellow compatriots, whether from inside Iran or outside the country, and more often than not, the first thing that they tell me is, remember, you do not belong to yourselves. You belong to us. There's a sense of ownership that they feel towards me. Now, where does that come from, mind you? The fact that I've been heir to that throne or to that dynasty puts me in a very unique and special position, which is the way that they relate to me. Now, does that dictate what the future would hold? Of course not. Should the Iranian people have a choice and have a say as to whether or not they would like to have a continuity of that institution in Iran? Of course. If one day they think that they would like to have someone like me have the high honor and responsibility of serving my country in a position of a monarch, so be it. Or they may choose to say, no, we want a different system, at which point I'd be an average citizen.
You have written that you will go home. When you go home, what will be the first thing you do?
Kiss the ground of my homeland.
Reza Pahlavi and Crown Prince Alexander.